Hello, Steve White, Triple 89 for Steve Arts 89, Star Trek's Gatekeeper. Well, I just saw a couple of scenes from Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The first one is a little scene of Pike approaching the Enterprise, and the second one is the actual opening credits, apparently. Well, not the opening credits, because there's no credits or text. I'm guessing it's just the effects sequence just to promote it, and that's not how it actually appears in the show. But I'll talk about that first, because that's the most interesting thing. Part of me is happy because it's what it should be. It is a shot. It's just a sequence of shots of the Enterprise traveling through space, doing its thing, boldly going. This is what Star Trek is supposed to be. So this is good. But there were still a couple of issues with it. But because I'm a Star Trek fan, that's what we do. We find nits and we pick them off. Now, like I said, it reminded me of watching the Voyager credits. It was like that level of beautiful and that level of, oh, thank God they're actually giving us, maybe they're going to actually give us a Star Trek show because they're giving us a Star Trek credit sequence. That's a hint that we're actually going to get a Star Trek show. And I felt bad for Discovery. I'm like, wow, Discovery doesn't have anything like this. In all the years that they did the show, they don't have a sequence that looks like this, that is this beautiful. But that said, the CGI ship looks really CGI. Instead of going for the matte sort of painted look of the original Enterprise, which was grey, not white, but because of the effects process and the way the show was stripped into syndication, the Enterprise kind of had a white glowing sort of look a lot of the time in the effects. So a lot of people think of it as very white and glowing, and then the motion picture refit was white and glowing like a pearl. So it does feel, it was always going to feel kind of grey and dull, but they've gone beyond that and they've gone to a bare metal sort of look with the texture, and it just looks really CGI. Some shots it looks fine, but other shots where light is reflecting on it, it looks really, really, really cheap CGI, and that really hurts it because the backgrounds are beautiful. The space phenomena, the planets, all of this. There's one shot where you see some sort of light phenomena in front of the ship, and you're looking up close. You go from the nacelle over, and you can see the light reflecting on the ship, and it looks beautiful. But there are a couple of other shots. There's one where it's floating in a bunch of asteroids that look kind of like ice, but also look like animation because it looks like really bad CGI. And the side of the ship where the light is reflecting on the raised Starfleet, sort of the red lines and all that, it just looks like too much detail, too sharp, and it looks really animated and bad. So there's good and bad. Yes, we're getting what we should have. We're getting what we want. It is a proper Star Trek opening sequence where you have the ship basically traveling through beautiful space scenes, letting us know that's what this series is. And hopefully that's what the series is going to be. It starts off, of course, with Anson Mount doing the Where No Man Has Gone Before narration. I'm guessing they said Where No One. I can't actually remember. But he does the narration. He does a good job of it. Apparently they spent a lot of time working on it in his basement. And he was sort of like, can we take a moment to really acknowledge what we're doing here? Very few people get to do this speech. And at the moment, this was in October 2021, they started doing it. And when he was talking to people basically saying, can we take a moment with this? Shatner was in space. So he was sort of like, I shouldn't try and top Shatner because I'm never going to top Shatner. Like, yes, I'm doing his intro, but he's in space right now. So I like Anson Mount's attitude. I like him as a person. Had a good interaction with him. He seems good with fans. He seems to know what he's doing. I'm having more hope for the show. There's always stuff that comes up that makes me go, ugh. But there's stuff like this. Like, it is a great Star Trek opening credit sequence to go along with The Next Generation, Voyager, all the other ones. I mean, I love the Enterprise sequence. I don't have a problem with the song. I know people hate it, so I didn't want to mention Enterprise in there. But, yeah, so now the scene. The scene is Pike is in a shuttle approaching the Enterprise in dock, and he doesn't look very happy about it. This is not the Kirk love affair striptease that we saw from the motion picture. He's sort of looking at it, and there's an ensign who's piloting the shuttle who's like in awe. She's like, there she is, all cleaned up and ready to go, and he's like, if only it were that easy. She's like, what? Because she doesn't know the issues he's got going on in the background at the moment. So he's coming back, but he's coming back with some hesitation, which is disappointing because you want him to come back and be like, you know, my lady in the sky, my Enterprise, my beautiful ship that I'm coming home to return to, you know, my lover. That was like Kirk's reaction to the ship. It was like, literally, it was like a striptease. Whereas this is more like, oh, she's over there, we kind of have to go there. So, but you get his character has those issues. I don't sort of want him to have those issues. At some point he seems to capture the excitement of, let's go where the aliens are. But, yeah, I'm not sure how to sort of read this. I don't want dark, resentful, don't want to be here Pike. And we saw a few seconds of that. But in the preview we saw, if we're going to be here, let's be here and have fun Pike in the other trailers and that. So I'm not quite sure what to make of that. So... yeah, so that's that. But yeah, the trailer, it's they're using it like a trailer, but the opening sequence, and like I said, it has no credits, it has no titles. I'm guessing there's a spot at the moment where you come at the end where you come over the top of the saucer, and then the Enterprise sort of comes out and goes into warp, and I got goosebumps at that moment. So I'm guessing that's where the credit sequence is going to sit. I mean, the title sequence is going to sit. That's going to be the end. But the other thing that freaked me out, because the sequence title is the title is normally at the start, so there's a shot at the start where the titles could be on, but I'm not sure. But another thing that bothered me was the use of the theremin. They're trying to acknowledge the old Star Trek and do a throwback to retro sci-fi, and I'm like, that was the 50s. Star Trek didn't use the theremin. That was something they used in old 50s movies. I think it was in The Day the Earth Stood Still. Yeah, I think there's a few old films it was in. It became the sci-fi, old 1950s sci-fi trope of weird sci-fi music. And to put that in at the end, it's a throwback, but it's a throwback about a decade too far, which seems to be calling the original series kind of regressive. I find it a bit offensive. I found it offensive in the title, in the credits. God, in the previews. I keep saying these words interchangeably like they're all one thing. I'm sorry. When they did it in the trailers, I kind of thought, well, that's kind of cute. They're trying to acknowledge it, but they're off by a decade. I guess whoever was doing the marketing, doing the trailers, actually didn't have any idea when the theremin was used and what movies it was used in, and that it wasn't used in Star Trek. They obviously haven't seen Star Trek, but they're trying to... I can get into the fun spirit of that. That's okay. But now to have it in the title sequence is like, no. Because the series, even... yeah, the pilot was done in 1964, a decade after those movies. The series was, the second pilot was 1965, and the series was 1966 to 1969, which, by the way, covers a lot more than 5 years. But, yeah, so it's kind of cute. And I get people are going to be like, oh, that's retro, we know that, we're cool with the retro Star Trek, But, no, it was never in Star Trek, it was a 50s movie sci-fi trope, so that kind of bugs me. That and the bad CGI Enterprise, the texture that looks like CGI gunmetal. But that, it's like, this really is a mixed bag and a roller coaster ride getting ready for this show, preparing for this show, because there are things that are great, like the overall sequence, the idea of it, the conception of it, the execution of it is good, but the CGI is bad. But the other thing is I knew the CGI was bad because the CGI for that Enterprise has been bad the whole time. I was hoping they would fix it between Season 2 of Discovery and Strange New Worlds, but they've kept it exactly the same. And when you see it in the space dock, it's just this grey lump behind a bunch of backlit lighting, and there's no detail. It's just flat. It's like, well, we can't afford the money to render these shots properly and to commit to rendering the ship like this all the time. So we're just going to go for this dull grey look where you don't really see the details, so we don't actually have to render it all and spend all the time doing all that and making it look real. So I miss the days of real models. They do look better than CGI. I know people will say, how dare you, CGI is like God, because it can do anything and everything. Kind of like animation, which is why it all looks like cartoons, unless it's done really, really well. I think they should have actually made a ship. If you really want to do an ode to retro and, do a throwback, how about actually create an actual CGI ship like, I don't know, like the Orville did, creating an actual practical model ship instead of a CGI ship. Like, But no, we'll have to settle for CGI Enterprise. Bad CGI Enterprise. The remastered Enterprise looks better than this Enterprise. I know I'm going on about it, I gotta stop. Because it's like I said, it's good and bad. Credit sequence, all the alien planets, everything look amazing, but the ship looks bad. It's like, I can't get a win. It's like there's something good, something bad, something good, something bad. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. It's still beautiful. I'm happy with it, but it's like, I don't know if I can deal with 3, 4, 5 years of bad CGI Gunmetal Enterprise. I don't know. I'm hoping maybe they pull into dry dock and get like a nice matte paint job at some point early in the series. I don't know. I'm going to go. Thanks. Bye.